So agents are really ruining the market. I mean, they are destroying the market. You know, that's what I hear all the time. You know, people always say, "Oh yeah, man, you know, agents are ruining the market." And I can understand why they say that, because when you see one number and then overnight the number changes, and it's like, okay, where'd you get this number from? So you always gonna assume that somebody gotta be to blame for it. So we're gonna blame the agents. It's their fault. They the reasons why this whole rev share market is way out of control. They're the reason why these numbers are overinflated. They're the reason why this market is off the charts. And for me, I can truly say I've had my fair share of agents and my relationship with them, and how they negotiate, how they posture, how they, fight for their client, right? And from the entrepreneur in me, I get it. It makes perfect sense. But the institutional enterprise person position, frame of mind, worldview, I just look at them and I say, dog, y'all are messing the market up. But then you can't just blame one person. You can't just blame one group of people and say y'all are the reason why the market is tore up, right? Because it's not fair to them. They're actually just doing their job, and I think everybody's doing their job. But for these numbers to actually be factual, somebody had to agree to it. Like, just because they came in saying, "Yo, my client needs $3 million," doesn't really mean you have to give $3 million, right? And I think when we start to look at the landscape of things, it's like so easy to blame somebody or find a blame. Like, as soon as something goes wrong, you got to find somebody to blame. Because just 2 years ago, it was easy to offer a number, athlete accepted, they come play for your team, season goes through, it's over. But now you got the agents and you're involved, and everybody talking about how much commission they're taking. Everybody talking about they're not certified, they're not licensed, they're not real agents, and all these things, because the other side of the world hasn't found a foundation of what they stand on, what they believe in, what their processes are, how they're going to operate. And they're at the mercy of an agent saying, my client wants $3 million. And as I sit and I look at it from now inside out, I watch these guys and these ladies negotiate on behalf of their client. And 9 times out of 10, they're not negotiating. They're just throwing out a number to see what sticks, right? It's almost like a kid. How far can I go before you slap my hand? A lot of these agents are like, "Hey, look, my client wants $3 million," and either you're going to say, "All right, here's the $3 million," or "Nah, we ain't got $3 million." But I think there's another layer to that too, because instead of you saying, "Yes, we have it," or "No, we don't have it," it's more so like, when do you sit at the table and like walk them through how things work? Because I found that a lot of my best conversations with agents have been me educating them, explaining to them how things are done in this situation and in this situation and for this athlete, not for this athlete, in a way where you're framing it where they understand. I don't talk to them as if they are irrational, but I do bring them back down to reality, right? Like, you think about, it's almost like anytime you have a teenager or whatever, like a kid, they'll ask you for some outrageous stuff. You don't have to say yes, but if you say yes, well, you can't get upset with them after you said yes, and now they're going through with what you said yes to. So I've realized, like, if one agent can literally inflate the market, if one, if one person can inflate the market, was there was there really a market? Like, one person cannot walk up and say, "I'm going to control every dollar based on what I say." You mean to tell me that this one person has that much leverage, that much influence? Like, and if you're claiming that they only been around for 2 years, or they don't have any license or no education or no licensure, Well, how do they have so much leverage? Like that always threw me off. Like when I sit and I talk to my peers, and they always revert to, man, the agents are just ruining the market. They're the ones that's like making these numbers way too high. And I'm just looking at them saying to myself, you really don't have to agree to those numbers, right? What's your process? What's your budget? How do y'all spend money? What's the roster need? Because you're you're agreeing to these numbers for some reason that had nothing to do with the agent saying that the client wanted $3 million. But that's the easiest scapegoat to throw out to say, oh yeah, we would have never had to spend that money if the agent didn't say nothing. I'm like, man, if you sit down and you really talk to an athlete and you talk to an agent, you're going to see that 9 times out of 10 they're on two separate playing fields. They're not even on the same page. Mom and dad not even on the same page with the agents. So yes, we can blame and say that the agents are the reason why the market is just so inflated and outrageous. But somebody from the authority side had to say yes to it. Like an agent can shop around, and this is from like business too. You can go shop your idea around, you can go shop your product around all day long and saying that you want this number for it. If nobody buys it, then nobody buys it. Then you have to figure out new strategy, right? And I think about that being the same case. An agent is just an entrepreneur with a product, which happens to be the talent of the athlete, and they're shopping it around. And whoever says yes to their number, that's what they're trying to sell it to. But if you don't have true product market fit, and this is how you look at it from the enterprise, if you don't have product market fit, or if this talent doesn't fit this market, you're probably not going to get that deal done. But if every time that agent shows up and you say yes, well, they're going to always dictate what happens inside of your institution. That's how one agent can run your whole team, because you're just at the mercy of whatever they say, because they always have good talent. Well, I think there's more agents out there with more talent. You're being lazy. You're being lazy in your recruiting. You're being lazy in your scouting. You're being lazy in your negotiation, to the point that when things hit the fan, the only thing you can do is blame the person who threw out this outrageous number. It's not their fault. They're doing what entrepreneurs are supposed to do. Like I'm about to get it, like by any means. So I stopped looking at the agents and I started looking at the enterprise. Who set the budget? Like, take a step back and say, who actually set the budget? And if you can't answer that, then we already have a problem from jump. Because if you don't know what you have to spend, there's there's no way that you can control the table with an agent, right? Who has the need for the roster? Meaning, who said, "Hey, this is a must get. This is a we can get them, but we don't need them. And this is a if they don't take the offer, we on the next thing." Who said that? Because this actually helps you across the table when they start throwing out these numbers. You're sitting across from somebody and they're throwing out a number. You're like, well, this one of those athletes that fell into this box, right? And you tell me all the time about like real estate have a buy box, right? If you don't have if you don't have parameters around what you're willing to spend on, of course the agents are going to inflate the market. Of course your budget is going to get blown, because you had no parameters around how you're going to deploy this money, what are you going to allocate it to. So you're going to always be over leveraged every single time. So when I look at it, I just be like, all right, well, we we can blame an agent every day of the week. That's easy. It's almost just like blaming the NCAA rules. We could You can find something or someone to blame, but when you look at it in its totality, where did it start? Like, no one person, no agent who's on the outside could come in and dictate what you're going to spend. Now, if they're really good, they can dictate how you structure it. They can. That's part of the negotiation. Like, you're having a conversation around, Here's a number. Okay, well, I want it done like this. I want it, broken up like this. Can you put it on this month? And like that's a whole different conversation. But if every time they come in and they say, hey, take it or leave it, they're telling you take it or leave it, then you might as well just pack your bags because you ain't gonna be long. You ain't gonna be here long. If one person can literally walk into your group, walk into your team, walk into your organization, and tell you how to spend your money, and then when it doesn't go well, you blame them for you agreeing to spending the money when you knew that ain't what you wanted to do. I thought we were all adults and professionals, right? So when I hear everybody with the arguments about, oh, they're inflating the market or they're setting the stage to, overtake the budgets, well, what's your response? Because I know for me, I'm like, we can't do that. We gotta do it like this. Yes, we'll give you the number, but it won't be how you want it done. Like those are type of conversation that you should be having, versus you're just gonna just fall victim to how they speak and then complain about it after it's done. Like it's not how business works. That's not how operations work. Because if every time someone says something different, you change it, you never had a foundation. You never had a system from the jump. So when I hear people talk about agents are inflating the market and all those things, I'm like, all right, I ain't gonna argue with you. I'm just asking which enterprise decision created that market, because somebody had to say yes. Somebody. And what the agent didn't ask for the number and tell himself yes. Somebody had to say yeah, right? So for me, then the next time you hear somebody blame anybody for the market, especially blaming agents, and this is not a pro-agent situation. This is a let's pro let's be proactive in our decision making. And if you're saying, oh well, it's the agent's fault, okay, if that person disappeared tomorrow, who fault will it be then? Like if they're now removed, they're no longer in the industry, and the situation come up again, who's to blame then? Because somebody had to make the decision, right? And that's just kind of how I view all of it, because I don't think any of this market starts from the agent. It starts from who set the budget, who said we're going to spend like this, who said here are our needs, here who's talking about how do our contracts work, our pay dates, what's our fiscal year. Like there are so many things that goes into the process well before you sit in across from an agent. And at the end of the day, you have to say yes or no. The agent can only put out a request. You have to accept it. And once you accept it, you have to accept what comes after that. So this is where like the decision making processes come in at, is that once you make a decision to accept that offer, you have to be okay with what comes after that. And you have to be able to manage that. And you can't fall back on, well, it's the agent's fault. They're not licensed. They're not educated. They don't have any degrees. They don't. Well, that should make your negotiations even that much easier. If they're not all these things, if they're just so bad, if they're not worthy enough to sit across the table from you, then guess what? I think you probably have more leverage. But if you're just going with it and you saying, okay, yes, well, you just made that agent super successful. You just boosted them up. So I like to teach. I like to sit across from an agent. I like to talk to them about how things are done in this situation. And from there, it's either a mutual level of respect or I don't like how this is done. And for me, either which way it go, I'm sticking to the plan. Blame the plan. Don't blame me, because the plan was this. Here's how we operate. Here's how this company operates. Here's how this team operates. This ain't me. This ain't a person. Like, you got to deal with the system, not the person. And I think that's just how things should operate in this space. Like blaming the agents for the inflated market, it takes two to tango.